Love is not about keeping.
Welcome to Fairy Tales English Journey. Today we explore a famous story. You might know the movie about the Little Mermaid. She sings songs and marries a handsome prince. But the original tale is very different. Hans Christian Andersen wrote it long ago. His ending has a much deeper meaning. Let us discover the true story together. The Little Mermaid lived deep under the sea. Her home was a beautiful palace made of coral and bright shells. She had 5 older sisters. They loved to play in the clear blue water. But the youngest mermaid was quiet and thoughtful. She dreamed of the world above the ocean surface. She wanted to see the sky. Her grandmother told her stories about humans. She said humans lived on dry land and had 2 legs instead of tails. The Little Mermaid listened carefully. She wanted to know everything about the human world. Her grandmother said she could visit the surface when she turned 15. The young mermaid counted the days until her birthday arrived. Finally, her 15th birthday came. She swam up through the dark water. The water turned lighter and lighter. She broke through the surface and saw the night sky. Stars sparkled above her. A large ship sailed nearby. Music played loudly from the wooden deck. She swam closer to watch the people dancing and laughing on the ship. On the ship, she saw a handsome prince. He had dark hair and kind eyes. It was his birthday party. The Little Mermaid could not look away from him. Suddenly, a terrible storm began. The wind blew hard. Tall waves crashed against the wooden ship. The ship broke apart and sank into the deep, dark ocean water. The Little Mermaid knew humans could not breathe underwater. She swam through the wild waves to find the prince. She found him sinking below the surface. He was unconscious and very still. She held his head above the water. She swam with him all night long. She saved his life during the terrible and dangerous ocean storm. Morning came and the storm passed. The sun shone brightly on the calm water. The Little Mermaid brought the prince to a sandy beach. She laid him gently on the warm sand. She heard young women walking near the beach. She quickly hid behind some large rocks in the water. She watched the prince from her hiding place. One of the young women found the prince. She called for help. The prince woke up and smiled at the woman. He thought she was the one who saved him. He did not know about the Little Mermaid. The Little Mermaid felt very sad. She swam back down to her underwater palace with a heavy, broken heart. The Little Mermaid could not forget the prince. She also wanted an immortal soul. Her grandmother explained that mermaids live for 300 years, but when they die, they turn into sea foam. Humans have a shorter life, but their souls live forever in the sky. The Little Mermaid wanted an immortal soul more than anything else. To get an immortal soul, a human must love her completely. The human must marry her. Only then would his soul share its immortality with her. The Little Mermaid decided she must become human. She left her safe home. She swam to the dark and scary part of the ocean. She went to find the Sea Witch. The Sea Witch lived in a creepy forest made of strange plants. The witch agreed to help her. She would make a magic potion. The potion would turn the mermaid tail into 2 human legs. But the magic came with a terrible price. Every step she took on her new legs would feel like walking on sharp knives. There was another condition. The Little Mermaid had to give up her voice. She had the most beautiful voice in the entire ocean. The witch took her voice as payment for the magic potion. The Little Mermaid could never speak or sing again. If the prince married someone else, she would turn into sea foam the next morning. The Little Mermaid agreed to the dangerous deal. She took the magic potion and swam to the human beach. She drank the bitter liquid. A terrible pain went through her body. She fainted on the sand. When she woke up, the handsome prince was standing over her. He asked who she was, but she could not speak. The prince saw her beautiful face and kind eyes. He noticed her fine clothes were gone. He gave her rich dresses to wear. She walked with him to his grand palace. Every step brought her terrible pain, just as the witch promised. But she smiled and danced for the prince. She moved more gracefully than anyone else there. The prince cared for her very much. He called her his dear little foundling. He let her sleep on a velvet cushion outside his door. They rode horses through the green forests. They climbed tall mountains together. Her feet bled, but she never complained. She was happy just to be near the handsome prince she loved so deeply. The prince loved her like a dear child. But he did not love her as a wife. He told her he loved the woman who saved him on the beach. He still believed the other woman rescued him from the storm. The little mermaid could not tell him the truth. She had no voice to explain her brave rescue. The king and queen wanted the prince to marry. They sent him to visit a neighboring kingdom to meet a princess. The prince told the little mermaid he would not marry the princess. He said he only loved the woman from the beach. He said the little mermaid looked like that woman. This gave the little mermaid some hope. They traveled on a grand ship to the neighboring kingdom. The little mermaid stood on the deck and looked at the dark water. She thought about her family below the waves. She wondered if they missed her. She knew she had given up her home and her voice for a chance at love and an immortal human soul. The ship arrived at the beautiful new city. Church bells rang loudly. People cheered in the busy streets. The prince went to meet the princess. When the princess walked into the room, the prince gasped. It was the young woman from the beach. The prince was filled with great joy. He had found his true love at last. The prince told the little mermaid how happy he was. He said his greatest dream had come true. The little mermaid smiled for him, but her heart broke into tiny pieces. She knew what this meant for her. When the prince married the princess, she would die. She would turn into sea foam on the very next morning. The wedding took place on a magnificent ship. Colorful flags blew in the gentle wind. Beautiful music played all around them. The little mermaid held the train of the bride. She wore a beautiful silk dress. She danced at the wedding celebration. She danced more beautifully than ever before. Everyone watched her graceful movements with great wonder and joy. She smiled as she danced, but she felt no pain in her feet. The pain in her heart was much greater. She knew this was her last night alive. She had left her family and given up her beautiful voice. She had suffered terrible physical pain. She did all of this for the prince and an immortal soul. The wedding celebration ended late at night. The prince and his new bride went to sleep in their grand tent on the ship. The ship was quiet and peaceful. The little mermaid stood by the wooden rail. She looked out at the dark ocean water. She waited for the sun to rise and bring her final sad end. Suddenly, her sisters rose from the dark water. Their long, beautiful hair was gone. They had cut their hair and given it to the sea witch. They made a deal to save their youngest sister. They held up a sharp magic knife. They told her she must use the knife before the morning sun touched the ocean water. Her sisters explained the cruel rules. The little mermaid must strike the prince in the heart with the knife. When his warm blood touched her feet, they would turn back into a fishtail. She would become a mermaid again. She could return to her underwater home and live out her 300 years in peace and safety. Her sisters begged her to do it. They said the sun would rise very soon. They sank back into the dark waves. The little mermaid took the sharp knife. She walked slowly to the tent where the prince slept. She pulled back the heavy curtain. The prince was sleeping peacefully next to his beautiful new human bride. The prince murmured his bride name in his sleep. He only thought of his new wife. The little mermaid looked at the sharp knife in her shaking hand. She looked at the handsome prince she loved so much. She could not harm him. She loved him too much to take his life, even to save her own life. She ran out of the tent and back to the wooden rail. The sky was turning light in the east. The sun was about to rise. She threw the sharp magic knife far out into the ocean waves. The water turned red where the knife fell. She looked at the prince one last time with deep and pure love. The little mermaid closed her eyes and jumped from the ship. She fell into the cold ocean water. She felt her body dissolving into soft sea foam. The bright sun rose above the horizon. Its warm rays touched the floating sea foam. But the little mermaid did not feel dead. She felt herself rising up into the warm air. She saw beautiful, transparent beings floating around her. They had no wings, but they moved easily through the sky. She realized she had a body just like theirs. She was no longer sea foam. She asked the glowing beings where she was. Their voices sounded like sweet, gentle music that no human ear could ever hear or understand. The beings welcomed her to the world of the daughters of the air. They explained that mermaids have no immortal soul. They can only get a soul by winning the love of a human. But the daughters of the air can earn an immortal soul by doing good deeds for 300 years. This was a wonderful new hope. Because the little mermaid had suffered and loved so purely, she joined them. She did not win the prince, but she won a chance for a soul. She had refused to do evil to save herself. Her great sacrifice lifted her up into the sky. She looked down at the ship and saw the prince and his new bride. The prince and his bride were looking for her. They stared sadly at the bubbling sea foam. They seemed to know she had jumped into the water. Unseen by the humans, the little mermaid kissed the bride on the forehead. She smiled at the handsome prince. Then she floated high up into the pink clouds with her new companions. This original ending is very different from modern movies. Many people think the story is a sad tragedy because she does not marry the prince. But Hans Christian Andersen did not write a simple romance. He wrote a story about spiritual growth and self-sacrifice. The ending is actually a great victory for the brave little mermaid. Think about her original goal. She wanted the prince, but she also wanted an immortal soul. In the beginning, she thought marriage was the only way to get a soul. She relied entirely on another person for her salvation. She gave up her voice and her power to win his love. But human love is very fragile and unpredictable. When the prince married someone else, she lost her chance at human love. But she gained something much more important. She gained the power to choose her own destiny. When she held the magic knife, she faced a terrible choice. She could destroy the prince to save her physical life, or she could sacrifice herself for true, pure love. By throwing the knife away, she proved her absolute goodness. She showed that her love was completely unselfish. This pure act of goodness elevated her spirit. She did not need the prince to give her a soul anymore. She earned the opportunity to create her own immortal soul through her own good actions and her own pure heart. The daughters of the air travel around the world, bringing cool breezes to hot countries. They spread the sweet smell of flowers. They bring health and healing to sick people. By doing these good deeds, they slowly build their immortal souls. The little mermaid now had a noble purpose. She had 300 years to earn her heavenly reward. Andersen wrote this story to teach a lesson about love and goodness. He wanted to show that true love does not always mean getting what you want. True love sometimes means letting go. It means wanting the best for the person you love, even if it hurts you. The little mermaid learned this difficult but beautiful lesson perfectly well. Some critics say the ending was added later to make children behave. The story says that when a daughter of the air sees a good child, her waiting time is shortened. If she sees a bad child, she cries, and her tears add days to her wait. This part seems like a simple moral lesson for young children today, but the main message remains very powerful. The little mermaid transcends her physical form. She moves from the deep, dark ocean to the bright, open sky. She moves from physical desire to spiritual love. She is no longer bound by the heavy waters of the sea. She is free to fly and do good deeds across the whole world. In many ways, this ending is much more empowering than a simple wedding. A wedding would mean her happiness depended entirely on the prince. If he ever stopped loving her, she would lose her soul. But as a daughter of the air, her soul depends only on herself. Her destiny is finally in her own capable and kind hands. Learning English through fairy tales helps us understand deep cultural ideas. When we read the original stories, we see the true values of the past. We learn new words to describe emotions and spiritual concepts. Words like immortal sacrifice and salvation are very important here. They help us express complex thoughts in our new English language learning journey today. The Little Mermaid shows great courage. Courage is not just fighting monsters or surviving storms. True courage is facing a broken heart and still choosing to be kind. It is very hard to be kind when you are hurting. The little mermaid felt terrible pain, but she chose kindness. This makes her a true hero in classic children's literature. Notice how the story uses elements of nature. The ocean represents the unconscious mind and deep emotions. The land represents human life and physical reality. The sky represents the spiritual world and higher thinking. The little mermaid travels through all three spaces. Her journey from sea to land to sky shows her incredible personal and spiritual growth and development. Let us review some important English vocabulary from this famous story. A foundling is an abandoned child who is discovered and cared for by others. The prince called her his foundling. Dissolve means to melt away or become liquid. Her body dissolved into sea foam. These words paint a vivid picture of her beautiful and sad fairy tale journey. Another great word is immortal. Immortal means living forever and never dying. The little mermaid wanted an immortal soul. Sacrifice means giving up something valuable for something more important. She made a great sacrifice for love. Using these strong descriptive words will make your English speaking and writing much more interesting and expressive for your audience to enjoy listening. The story of the Little Mermaid teaches us to look beyond simple happy endings. Life is full of challenges and disappointments. We do not always get the prince or the palace, but we always have the power to choose how we react. We can choose bitterness or we can choose grace. The Little Mermaid chose grace and found peace. Next time you watch a modern movie version of this tale, remember the original story. Remember the brave girl who walked on knives and gave up her voice. Remember her pure heart and her ultimate spiritual victory in the sky. Her real story is much more beautiful and meaningful than a simple wedding celebration on a royal wooden ship. Thank you for joining Fairy Tales English Journey today. We hope you enjoyed learning the true meaning behind this classic story. Keep practicing your English by reading more original fairy tales. They are full of magic, wonder, and great life lessons. Please subscribe to our channel for more amazing stories. Have a wonderful day and happy English learning, everyone.
Top 10 Best Sentences to Learn English. Number 1. An ornate antique book, opening to reveal an underwater kingdom with a glowing coral palace. Explanation. This sentence uses strong descriptive adjectives like ornate, highly decorated, and antique, old and valuable. The verb reveal is excellent for describing the act of showing something hidden. Number 2. The Little Mermaid sitting on a beautiful shell looking up at the sunlight filtering through the ocean water. Explanation. The phrase filtering through is a sophisticated way to describe how light or liquid passes through a medium, which is very useful for descriptive writing. Number 3. A classic watercolor storybook illustration in a timeless European fairy tale style. Explanation. The word timeless is a powerful adjective meaning something that does not go out of fashion or change over time, often used in art and literature. Number 4. The Little Mermaid. Breaking the ocean's surface, looking at a grand wooden sailing ship under a starry sky. Explanation. The idiom, breaking the surface, specifically describes the moment something moves from underwater into the air, a key phrase for aquatic descriptions. Number 5. The prince standing on the wooden deck of a sailing ship as a fierce storm begins with tall waves. Explanation. The word fierce is a high-level synonym for intense or violent, commonly used to add drama to descriptions of weather or animals. Number 6. The Little Mermaid swimming bravely into a dark, gloomy underwater forest filled with strange, twisting plants. Explanation. This sentence pairs gloomy, dark and depressing, with twisting, to create a vivid, slightly frightening atmosphere for the reader. Number 7. The Sea Witch. Taking the voice of the Little Mermaid as magic swirls around them in the water. Explanation. The verb swirl perfectly describes a spinning or twisting motion, which is a great word for describing fluids, smoke, or magical effects. Number 8. The young woman with red hair transforming into a beautiful, transparent spirit floating up into the warm morning sky. Explanation. The phrasal verb transforming into is essential for describing a complete change in form, and transparent is a precise term for something you can see through. Number 9. A magnificent sunrise over the ocean with golden rays of light painting the clouds in shades of pink and orange. Explanation. This uses shades of to describe variations in color and the metaphorical use of painting to describe how light affects the appearance of the sky. Number 10. An open antique dictionary with illuminated letters showing the words Immortal and Sacrifice decorated with floral borders. Explanation. The word illuminated here refers to the historical art of decorating letters in books, while Immortal and Sacrifice are key thematic vocabulary words.